Over the past few weeks, most of my work for this channel has been reviewing episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, something that's taken me a lot of work, and I really appreciate all the positive responses I've been getting for those reviews, which is why I'm currently working on reviewing episode 4 as we speak. However, I also report news on this channel, and since there's been so much chatter about what's happening with Starfleet Academy, how it's performing, what's going to happen in the future with the show, and a lot of other questions, I wanted to give you a video where I give my own personal analysis as to what's really happening. In addition to that, I've also stumbled onto something of an exclusive scoop that I haven't seen being reported anywhere else, so I wanted to share that with you as well. But before we dive in, if you enjoy getting news from an independent news source like myself that's not influenced by the mainstream media, please take a second now to like and subscribe, as it would really support my efforts here.
Do it.
So first of all, a few weeks ago, Star Trek Starfleet Academy premiered. I think it's pretty clear to everyone that this show has been a major disaster, in spite of some well-timed articles initially trying to spin this whole thing as a success. It's very obvious now at this point that even on Paramount Plus, a streaming service that doesn't have a ton of original content, this show is not attracting viewers who are instead spending more time watching Taylor Sheridan's lineup of shows, old and new, and also shows like South Park. And it's no coincidence that most of the discourse you see online for Starfleet Academy is people poking fun at it, aside from those type of bitter legacy media shill publications like the Mary Sue and Collider, who are somehow trying to blame the show's failure on YouTubers like The Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, and perhaps to a far lesser extent, even channels like mine. It's funny though that all these shills are good at blaming everybody for a show being rejected by audiences, but they're never quite as good at explaining why they actually like the show, and even when they do attempt to do that, more often than not, they end up just exposing themselves as tourists of a particular franchise and not real fans anyways. But for those of us that have been around the block a few times over the years, we already expect this kind of thing because we've seen it so often with Star Trek, with Star Wars, with the MCU, with DC, and a lot of other IPs that have been plagued by modern-day messaging. In some cases, these type of shills that are protecting these studios, they're doing it to maintain the type of relationships and access they have to movie premieres and talent and interviews and things like that. In other cases, it could be because they like the identity politics of a certain show, and sometimes it could even be a combination of both. The good thing is that even big studios these days can't afford to keep making this type of crap if nobody is going to watch it, and that's probably why there's been a wave of so many reports online that range from pure clickbait to reports based on very questionable sources, which is fine if you're into that sort of thing. I mean, a lot of channels out there, they have their own hustle, and I don't want to be the one to knock it, but I will say this. People sitting in Europe or the Far East claiming that top executives at Paramount have personally called them to tell them that Starfleet Academy has been secretly cancelled is not something that I can take seriously. In fact, it kind of bothers me just how much of these type of sensational reports I see both on YouTube and even sometimes within the independent media. And while on this channel, some of my reports are occasionally speculative in nature, they are always based on facts that are publicly available, and I always make that clear in the video, and I would never claim that a studio source personally contacted me if that didn't really happen. So however you feel about my reporting, I will say that it's usually grounded in reality, and not just some sensational thing. And before I get into my own discovery from today, I'll tell you this: when a show doesn't perform, and clearly Starfleet Academy isn't performing well, based on actual numbers that we know, it doesn't take a detective to deduce that we're not going to be seeing much more of it. From what I know, prior to all these recent rumors, Starfleet Academy was always going to have a second season, and that season has already been filmed prior to the premiere of season 1. It's highly likely that all of this was settled with showrunner Alex Kurtzman in advance, so anybody that's reporting now that the series is either renewed for a second season or cancelled after a second season, they're just basically telling you that the sky is blue, because we already all know that. The only thing that is more important is that, according to Kurtzman himself, he has not yet met with David Ellison to discuss if his own Star Trek contract will be renewed when it expires in August 2026. And if I had to take a guess, I tend to think that Ellison wouldn't extend Kurtzman's contract. Not only do Kurtzman's shows usually perform rather poorly in the ratings, Kurtzman's injection of far left-leaning ideologies within Star Trek may not sit well with the Ellison family who are more right-leaning and known to be friendly with the current US president. And although you never know anything 100%, I would genuinely be surprised if Ellison extends Kurtzman's contracts. The only question that remains, in my opinion, is if the second season of Starfleet Academy will ever air, or if Ellison decides to delete it and use it as a tax write-off, much like Warner Brothers' David Zaslav did with Batgirl a few years back. My instinct, though, tells me that I think Ellison will let it air at some point, but perhaps won't do much promotion for it. Maybe Paramount will just dump all the episodes in one day, like Disney does with some of its failing streaming shows. As for the actual scoop I have for you, today I was working on my Starfleet Academy Episode 4 review, and I wanted to quickly look at Episode 1 of Starfleet Academy, which I had bookmarked from the day it premiered on YouTube. Now, if you recall, in addition to premiering on their own streaming service, Paramount decided to offer the first episode of Starfleet Academy for free on YouTube to anybody that's willing to watch it, and embarrassingly, it was only viewed there by 1,300 people, and over the days that followed, only by an additional 200,000 people, which is obviously a complete and utter disaster. They spent over $100 million on this thing, and they couldn't even make people watch it for free. And they were, of course, on YouTube ratioed with dislikes and bombarded with comments poking fun at the show. And I admit that a few times when I went back to look at it, I was very surprised that Paramount had still kept the episode on YouTube. Perhaps they were thinking that it could still cause more people to watch it, but today as I went to the bookmark of the video on YouTube, I discovered that something had changed. Paramount has made the premiere episode of Starfleet Academy private. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about this. Now, there could be 1 out of 3 reasons for this. One is that they want to clean up all the bad comments and somehow sanitize the video in some way behind the scenes to make this look like less of a disaster, and then they'll make it public again. The other reason is that they could potentially re-upload it as a completely new video, canceling all comments on it altogether, not allowing new comments, and just trying to rewrite the narrative somehow. The third option, which I think would be the wisest on their end, is that they don't re-upload it, they keep it private, and just never talk about it again. Regardless though, I think that spells a clear defeat here on Paramount's end, and I think that everybody understands that this show is a stinker, and the removal of the YouTube video, whether permanent or temporary, only highlights the problem that Paramount have on their hands. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm working on a review for Episode 4, but if you haven't yet seen my reviews for Episode 1, 2, and 3, I'll leave those links in the description below, and if you want to keep getting updates about Star Trek and reviews from an independent source like myself, please make sure to like and subscribe, as it would really mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I'm such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. And my friends are awesome too. They make so many videos. I'm such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Now we are an awesome group, making live streams for you. I'm such an awesome guy.